The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. It's very nice to have an interaction with you all today. And this afternoon, this day, I'm going to present you on a topic, teacher education, the immediate need for a positive transformation of engineering education in India. So more of Indian context, but some of the points are very common world over. I'm going to cover these aspects: concept and purpose of education, evolution of engineering education in India, the present status, global and national statistics, features of existing system for quality evaluation, what's going on these days about that, gaps and key factors to bridge these gaps, proposals for a new system with focus on teacher education, followed by conclusions and references, of course. And there we are. So we'll have to begin somewhere at the bottom line. What is education? I mean, we all feel that many things we know. It happens with anybody for that matter, not just students, but also with the teachers. We think that we know something. And when we are questioned deeply, probably at that time we begin to think. There are different levels of definition for education. Most of the people say that education is to know what we do not know. Education is to know what we do not know. But then imagine somebody is getting drowned in the floods in a river, and I asked you to jump down, plunge into the river and save that person. Immediately you plunged into the river. But then you realized at that moment that you didn't know how to swim. So that means you must know your limitations. You must know how much you know. So knowing how much we know is also education. That is the second level of education, the definition. So the first level was to know what we do not know. But the second level is to know what we know. That is also very important in education. That is a kind of education. And most of the times we as teachers will be forgetting to teach this to the students. So it's very important to know our limitations, to know our faculties, strengths, and to know how much we know. Then of course at a higher level, spiritual level, to know that we really do not know anything is highest order of definition. You know, people like Einstein, who are supposed to have used their brain to the greatest extent, they themselves went on to write in the pages of their diary at the end of their career that what is it that we are doing? Everything that is there in nature already, we are trying to discover, that's it. So everything is there already. So how big is this nature is, this universe is, and search for that truth is education, in fact. So education must give us the simplicity, the quality that with which we respect everybody. So that is education. Now, coming down to what for is education, the very purpose of education. These days, if you ask anybody, education is for employment, they say. Education is for employment, they say. Because people are looking out for good schools so that you get good grades, good marks, and then you join good colleges at the intermediate level. And then again for good marks and all that, then you earn a seat in a good engineering college where placements are of importance. So the aim is for placements, getting a seat in a good school, engineering school, and then getting the employment is the basic purpose. It has become the basic purpose of anybody these days. So education is for, if I leave the blanks, everybody, most of the, I think people on the earth, they fill it up with employment. Whereas education is for enlightenment. Employment is not the responsibility. Employment is a part of our life. So education has missed its thread thoroughly these days. Now, which institutions are we preferring? As I said, those institutions which are giving 100% placements, we are preferring these days. The focus is on employment. And present education system is very much designed by the corporate sector people. Now, there were days, in the good old days, where people used to be rather scared of religion, but they were respectful to the God. But now they are scared of God, they are respectful to the religion. But even then, whatever it is, religious gurus were there in those days, people used to be scared of, there was some control. Later on, from that religious guru system to, let us say, kingdoms have come. Kingdoms, again, kings are like dictators, so people used to listen. There was some discipline at least prevailing in those days, even in those days. Later on, governments have come. Governments focuses on democracy. Therefore, some efforts were there and it's going on. But now these days, governments are being ruled by the corporate sector people. Corporate sector people are dictating terms to the governments. They are the makers, king makers. They are making the policies at the helm of the affairs, and whatever they want, that is being taught here in the educational institutions. And what do they want? Corporate sector people, of course, they want industry-oriented qualities. Pace they want, productivity they want. So naturally, quality suffers. So the present education system is focusing on pace, the quantity, productivity. Therefore, naturally, things are suffering. Dilution has come. Qualities of good education, when we think of what should a good education give us, as I said, education is for enlightenment, happiness. It should set our mind free from all the fears. It should liberate us from all the fears. But if you check, even a school-going student these days, he himself, apart from his family members, is under a lot of pressure. Tensions are mounting. So it appears that the good old value-based education system, which was being followed in those gurus' culture and all that, in the good old days, there is a need to revive that kind of education system. So that is value-based education system. We are focusing more on skills, but forgetting the values. Therefore, there is a need for value-based education system. Now about present education, look at what Gandhiji said. The real difficulty is that people have no idea of what education truly is. We assess the value of education in the same manner as we assess the value of land or of shares in the stock exchange market. It is true. It is true. Because the student is being treated as a resource, and the terms like commodity, resource, customer, we are listening to these kind of words these days. We want to provide only such education as would enable the student to earn more. Earning has become, learning is set aside. Earning has become more important these days. We hardly give any thought to the improvement of the character of the educated. There were days when we used to believe that end of education means character. If one has attained character, that is the end of it. But end of education these days means if he has got a good job, that's it. So end of education has become employment these days. As long as such ideas persist, there is no hope of ever knowing the true value of education. That's what is said by Gandhiji, very rightly said. Now, present education versus value-based education of yester years. Value-based education, and let me tell you one point. Value-based education, teachers used to give implicitly. Never there were subjects like moral science, etc. Now, these days, subjects like moral science is introduced. Students are scoring 100% out of that, but no morals. So what is the use of implementing such policies? The present education system differs very much in that sense to the value-based education system of yesteryears, wherein values were inculcated. Teachers used to possess those values and they used to inculcate those. Implicitly, the education system was having that. Now, look at this. Education opens up our mind. Present day education may open up our mind, but value-based education gives us purity of heart too. It's not just the mind, it's purity of heart also. Similarly, education provides us with skills, but value-based education provides us sincerity too. Like that, education extends our relationship with the world, but value-based education, brings us closer with our own family members, which is very much missing. The present day education system is breaking these links. Society is dissociating, families are dissociating. Family, after all, is a model for a society, a small model of a society where people live for each other, but those links are being broken now with the present kind of education system. Now, education makes our living better, may make us our living better, but value-based education makes our life better too. Education teaches us to compete with others. Competition is the key word, catchword these days. Everybody is trying to compete with somebody else. But what is expected is everybody must compete with themselves, their own self. We must look into ourselves, compete with ourselves every day and refine ourselves. And then only we can become complete. That's what value-based education, VBE, encourages us to be complete too. Present education system again makes us good professionals, but value-based education makes us human too. Professionalism, so-called professionalism these days, is making us look too busy, so busy that we forget our family members. Let me tell you here, it's not a story, it's a real incident that has happened. You all know that Pakistan has never beaten us, never beaten India in any World Cup cricket. Sometime back, the story was repeated. India has beaten Pakistan, and the coach of Pakistan, Bob Woomer, he was somehow dejected in moods, and later on he was found dead. People said he was murdered or something like that. An investigation was ordered. A doctor has probed into that investigation, and that doctor hails from one of the rural parts of our own country, India, here, Indian, rural area. And his parents, they look at him in the newspapers, and a mother writes a letter to the doctor inviting him to come to their village and see his father after 29 years. My son, we have seen you in the newspapers. Somehow we couldn't trace you all these days. Where you were, we don't know. We didn't know. Therefore, please come and attend to father who is not well. You know what the doctor said? Mom, you must have noticed through the newspapers how much skilled doctor I am and how much I am preferred. If you want money, I will send you. That's it. But I am very busy to attend these. What kind of values are these? What kind of education is this? Where people are preferring skills but no values. You're not looking into your own parents. And who has to look after? That way, we are focusing on skills, but values we are forgetting. And value-based education takes the whole society to the top, not just an individual. We are focusing on how to make an individual reach top in the society. But value-based education teaches us how to bring the entire society to the top. That's the secret of it. Now, education gives us capacity of better learning, but value-based education gives us the tool for a deeper understanding too. There is a saying, education may give us anna. Anna means food. But value-based education provides us ananda, happiness also. Education brings us limitations, but value-based education brings us liberation. So, vidya ya vimuktaye. That means that knowledge is what helps us to attain liberation. And my friends, value-based education is the need of the hour, whether it is an engineering institution or any other professional institution. Now coming to the evolution of engineering education in India, there was Vedic period before 1000 BC. Epics are said to have happened, but they also date back from 1000 to 800 BC. Before that, well before that, in fact, warfare, construction of bridges were taught those days. It's a professional, idea. Warfare, construction of bridges were taught besides Vedas and other subjects. Now universities have come. Taxila, Nalanda, India is known for having such university-based education in those days itself. And 6th century BC, you can imagine, 2nd century BC, 6th century to 2nd century BC, Taxila was there. 5th century AD to 12th century AD, Nalanda was there. And they used to teach about weaponry, carpentry, or all those professional, components of education, what we are learning today. Smithy, embroidery, temple sculpture, etc. And there comes British period, 1757 to 1948. And they used to teach, of course, for their purpose, land survey, training on sophisticated instruments for doing land survey, laying roads. Of course, that is a key factor that, however, has contributed for the development of the country with whatever motive they have laid the roads, but they are intact. Most of them are intact even today. Railway tracks, for the sake of the government, they have laid this. And first survey school, thus they have started in 1794 at Madras. Now, if you look at the engineering institutions, in 1854, Thomson Engineering College, which is presently known as the IIT Roorkee, was started. 1856, Bengal Engineering College was started. 1858, Pune College of Engineering, where our Sir Mokshagundam Vishweshwaraya studied, was started, and simultaneously Gindi Engineering College also was started. 1887, Victoria Jubilee Technical Institute of Bombay was started. 1902, appointment of Indian Universities Commission was done by the then governor. 1904, Indian education policy resolutions have come into picture. And 1913, Indian governor address of those days, British governor was there, addressing the importance of technical education, and IASC Bangalore was set up. And once after India attained independence, 5 IITs were set up along with 20 REACs, the regional engineering colleges, which are presently known as National Institute of Technologies. So that's how the engineering institutions have come. But let me ask you one question here before we take up this. Engineering institutions were there, but do you think engineers have come into existence only after engineering institutions have come? No, not necessarily. I know, you all know this answer. Even before engineering colleges existed, engineers existed. You take Leonardo da Vinci, he was a medical doctor, he was a musician, he was an engineer, he was a painter, so everything. So like that, engineers existed irrespective of these engineering institutions. But the role of engineering institution, you look at this engineering college now, the first engineering college in India, in 1854 it was set up, Thomson College, presently called IIT Roorkee. Only civil engineering was there in those days. It did a pioneering job by the teachers. It was a pioneering job by the teachers of this institution in the first 25 years. What they did? They established and systematized all the procedures for teaching engineering education. Look at that. What role they played. As engineers, they visualized that the country needs more engineering colleges, more such courses. Therefore, there is a role for them to play. And they played a pioneering role. They prepared so many notes on subjects, expecting that the future generations will follow these. That's the kind of spirit. That's the kind of vision one must have. Vision is, after all, seeing what would be and not just seeing what is. Now they had their own printing press, that was an advantage. Therefore, they published their own publications. Their works were reckoned as standards and disseminated to other colleges later on. And remember, teachers were responsible for this great job. Teachers have a role to play in this aspect also. Now look at the present status of engineering education in India. Engineering education in educational institutions in India, they were only 1,500 in 2005. Forget about the past, even before 2005, but there were 1,500 institutions in 2005. They rose to 4,500, approximately doubled in 2015. 95% of these are in private sector. That is a key point to be noted. So the private sector is contributing for the 95% of the technical education, engineering education in India. Now, most of these institutions are lacking quality staff, lab facilities, etc. How can we say that? You may ask me, how can I say that? It's based on committee's findings. So many government committees are constituted to check the quality, and they themselves are revealing. And NASSCOM survey 2005 and 2011, twice they did, they told that only about 25% of the students coming out of these institutions are truly employable. About 65% of the employers are only partially satisfied with those employed. That means only 25% are really employable. But even those employed also, 65% of the employers are partially satisfied. They are not fully happy. That means the students must be lacking some fundamentals, and you can't blame the students alone. Therefore, there is a link up. We'll discuss that link up later on. The survey includes students from NITs and IITs also. You may say they are good, but the survey included them also. Now here comes a glaring comparison of global and national statistics. The gross enrollment ratio. What we say, the gross enrollment ratio in higher education in India, 17.9%. In China and Brazil, it is 26%. And in Russia, it is 76%. So you can imagine now, how many people are enrolling in higher education? Very less, lowest in India. And these countries which are taken for reference are, they have taken countries like USA, Japan, UK, such developed countries. And apart from that, the BRIC countries, BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Brazil, Russia, they have suffered, the economic crisis was there. India is a developing country. These four countries are four different types of countries. So here they have chosen such countries in which we can see a variation. So such countries are chosen for the study, and it was noted that India is the lowest in gross enrollment ratio. Now look at the number of engineering students per million population. Per million population, India is registering 1,290, which is uncomparable with these which are referred here. That is lowest in the world. Now we, on one side, we are saying that there is mushrooming growth of engineering institutions in the country. Engineering institutions are growing and in number, and therefore quality is suffering, we are saying. But at international level, if you compare, ours is the lowest record. 1290 number of engineering students are there per million population in India. It has to increase by leaps and bounds. If it is to be increased, number of engineering institutions must grow naturally. Therefore, it is rather contradictory to say that engineering institutions are growing, therefore quality is getting diluted. There is no control over the quality for us. We must check that. That should be questioned than questioning the increase in the number of engineering institutions. That's what I would like to drive here. And then number of students shared by private institutions, you can see India 83% private institutions are sharing 83%, UK 0%, Russia 2%, USA 21%. Now, where this comparison goes? This is the key factor here. The government, which is supposed to take care of the students even at higher education level also, is unable to take care here. Reasons may be different, number of reasons are there, but therefore this is becoming the key factor here. When private engineering institutions are taking care of 83% of the students, and it should be their responsibility. When I say that this, they raise their voice. If they take up the responsibility, the government also should help them. So that is going on. It's never-ending fight. But even in USA, you can see slightly considerable size is there. 21% are taken care of, but the quality is supposed to be better. Whatever number of private institutions are offering professional education there, they are offering it better, relatively. Why that is not happening in India? Now, that is the question. Now, faculty per engineering college in India is 19, with all so many mathematical juggleries, numerical juggleries they do, all the managements, they show some number. Out of them, most of them will not be, again, really available. So, with all that also, still it is the lowest per college, faculty per college, lowest in the world. Now, leave apart, we are talking of the quality of teachers and all that. But whatever it is, with all that also, qualitative or not qualitative, the number is lowest, again, when compared internationally. Now, student-teacher ratio, 24, highest in the world, which is undesirable at all. So, for 24 students, you have one teacher, whereas it is around 10:1 in other countries, even less in some cases. So, publications wise, again, India, of course, stands in the 5th position, of course. But then here, how many papers do I publish? We are only measuring the papers in terms of impact factors, this and that. But do they really create an impact on the society, Indian society in particular? Whether the inferences of those researchers, what we are calling so-called researchers, are really impacting? Whoever has defined that impact factor and all that based on citation and all that, how does it matter if how many number of times I cite in a journal? How does it matter? All these are referred by, again, academicians, purely for academic purposes. Why don't we understand that it should be measured in terms of the impact on the society, not just impact on our own academic community and fraternity? Most of the times people, they ignore it. It's for academic purposes, they'll be saying, and it is sounding like that. We for ourselves are keeping some targets in terms of impact factors, number of publications, and we are reckoning them to be very important in our academic lives. We must somewhere realize that this is not the evaluation system. What impact these papers have created, this research has created on the society, must be measured rather than the number of publications and the impact factors and all that. Now, when it comes to patents, I am sure most of the engineering colleges, if you see, nil it will be. India is lowest that way. How many of our faculty have patents is, again, a very, very disappointing figure that is. Now, the quality evaluation, this is, again, you all know how it is being done. There are so many committees. There could be NAC or there could be NBA or so many things are there. But to me, it appears that, what they do, that the procedure of evaluation we all know. The management is evaluated for its efforts, governance, very clearly marks are allocated for each of these, infrastructure, reputation, etc. A faculty is evaluated for its qualifications, publications, research projects, awards, honors. Students' performance is measured in terms of their marks, placements, etc. And due weightage is given to the link up by way of contributing to the society through these engineering institutions, what role they are playing, the management, that also should be questioned, looked into. Faculty, their qualifications, their publications, their PhDs, etc., they are only recognition for their individual efforts. But how far they have research projects, awards or honors, what awards they are given for impacting the society in any positive manner, that is to be checked. Unfortunately, these are not being checked. Students' performance is measured in terms of their marks, placements. That's all. As any other institution, coaching institutions are doing, they are grinding the students for marks and all that. Whereas the entrepreneurship cell is to be strengthened in every institution, we are strengthening the placement cell. We say that 100% placements are there. But how many of our students, professional engineering college students, have become entrepreneurs? That is the main objective of this professionalism. Professionalism is more about creating opportunity not only to yourself but to others. Then only the colleges can be called professional colleges, and the teaching staff can be called professional teachers. Students can be called professionals. But is it happening? Instead of becoming entrepreneurs, we are focusing on employees. That's it. Our motto is to become a good employee, to earn lifelong work on the name of some employment. Now, students' performance is measured that way. Now, alumni link up, industries, collaboration, etc., participation, etc. It is becoming a farce. Many of the times, they are called just before the inspection committee comes, and some interaction, some lunch will be there, and they interact. They say that policies are good, college policies are good, and probably they may interact with their good old teachers, and that's it. But what role an alumni organization is playing in this 83% of the private engineering institutions? In IISc Bangalore, IITs, etc., alumni play an important role. They contribute a lot. In fact, most of the research laboratories, infrastructure are being run by them. They are contributed by them. And equal importance is given by the institutions also to the alumni. That relation shall prevail. Year to year, this kind of progress must be evaluated. Year to year, this kind of establishment from alumni organizations in the institutions must be checked. Are we checking that? No such indication. Whether how many have happened in a year with alumni, that's only is checked. So somewhere the evaluation system needs a thorough revision. Next, the gaps. Therefore, my friends, we are getting confused between education, its definition and purpose, as well as with research and PhD. What we are doing? We are insisting on persons having PhDs. That's it. Once you have earned PhD degree, whether he is continuing with research or not is not noted. What is important for a professional teacher is research. And to do research, you need not have a PhD. These two are two different entities. By insisting on having such qualifications and all that, what we are doing, we are making the youngsters, younger generations to rush to the universities. There is a huge competition, not to name the universities, but huge competition. Every day in the newspapers you will see. And people are going to courts. I live in Hyderabad, and Hyderabad, some universities, Ph.D. admissions are there, and so many students. There are about 10 seats, 180 to 200 candidates have applied, and somebody goes to the court for some reason. So what is happening? Competition we are encouraging. On the name of competition, the quality is suffering. What is needed? Why should be there a limitation on research? Number of seats in the research. Why don't we increase? Because you don't get a seat, you focus on how to get a seat somehow and how to get a degree. We have missed the thread thoroughly, my friends. What should be focused is the research, not the PhD. Whether you have a PhD or not, how many publications you have made and how they are impacting the society. With what minimum amount you are able to carry on the research. Crores of rupees, AICTE, DST is granting funds to our teachers. And what we are doing, under what head we can utilize the funds, we will see. Very unfortunate, very pathetic situation. And some outcome will come, that's it. And you will submit it, you will get the degree. And that is research. The outcome must be invariably measured in terms of its impact on the society. A single positive impact, if it could create, then only you pass through that research project. Otherwise not. Academic excellence and job-seeking attitudes of students are given priority, because 83% to 90% is contributed by the private sector in engineering education in the country. Definitely they will concentrate on attracting the students. How to attract them? By boasting for themselves that placements are 100% in our institution. And for making that, they won't go back even in having link up with the employment giving organizations also. Anything could happen. And students are therefore developing these job seeking attitudes, not education seeking attitudes. The practical comprehension, entrepreneurial skills are not tapped at all and encouraged. You take up the question papers, assignments, seminars, project works, whatever are designed, mostly they are towards finishing them quickly and then entering the job market quickly. They focus their eyes on these things. So somewhere we have to understand this, that the practical exposure, practical comprehension of and entrepreneurial skills must be checked. I will ask a very simple question. How many computer science students, why students, computer science teachers can assemble and disassemble a computer for themselves? A 10th class failed fellow, in Hyderabad we have seen there is something like Shanghai trading market here where computers are sold. Every day, hundreds of computers are being sold there. The 10th class failed fellow will be doing these operations. Assemble that and give the professor of a computer science teacher. Can ever this happen in a professional institution? Can we focus on the practical aspects rather than a mere theoretical approach? Can laboratories, practice and subjects like designing experiments be given priority? Can this happen? And surprisingly and interestingly, because this is not happening, the corporate sector people are blaming the teachers, and they are now going ahead one step further, saying that we give training to your teachers also. 10x mission, this and that, so many programs they have coined, and they give training to the teachers. What is happening here? So are we exposing our teachers and students to the practical field of the respective branches of engineering? There is a vast gap between what should have been taught and what is being. I get reminded of two kinds of teaching here. Why two? There could be more, but predominantly. One kind of teaching is, the teacher is trying to teach about the sun, S-U-N, sun. It's a round object giving light to the world, whole world. He's trying to say, students are nodding their head, and students are understanding about the moon, a round object giving light. Teacher thinks that because students are nodding their head, they have understood him. He goes out of the class with full satisfaction. This is one kind of teaching. In second kind of teaching, which is mostly occurring these days, teacher also tells them about moon only. He thinks that he is teaching about sun, S-U-N, sun, but he is teaching about moon only, and students are nodding the head in resonance with the head of the teacher. Both of these are happy. They think that the process of learning and teaching is over. With full satisfaction, they come out of the classrooms. And because they themselves are the evaluators, they only are the persons who correct the papers and all that, there is no problem at all. Students are getting 90%. This second kind of teaching is taking place, my friends, these days, and that is predominant. How to check this? There are so many gaps, and that is the crux of the situation. That is the problem. The teachers also do not know what they are teaching. Therefore, in all, the gaps can be summarized like this. Teacher-related gaps. One is exposure to practical aspects. It is not there. Command over the subject and communicating ability. Most of the students, most of the teachers don't possess this communication ability. They think that it is not needed because it is engineering. Whether it is engineering or a language or history or a commerce, you have to communicate. Probably there are many ways of communicating, but communication is an art. And teaching, for that matter, is an art. It's a performing art. And if you can't communicate, you can't stand there. They have got to be good communicators. Whether they are first ranked or second ranked or 60%, 70% distinction or not, it is immaterial. That is no way related to your teaching ability. Therefore, teaching is a performing art which requires this performance predominantly more than anything else. Why should AICT or any other body keep requisite as a qualification requirement? In fact, AICT keeps second class itself as the qualification eligibility criteria. But in some of the institutions, we are focusing on first class, distinction, that and this. Candidate must have attained 90% also, but he doesn't know how to communicate. What is the use? You're a brilliant, you're a genius, but you're unable to communicate. Therefore, what is to be seen here is not how many marks you have got, how many marks your students can get, what kind of impression you can leave, imprint you can leave on their minds. That is what is important, and for that communication must be seen. So command over the subject and communicating ability is missing. That is another gap. And use of latest technology or software, many of us are not keeping abreast with this. And I must appreciate, Dr. Krishna Vedula and all those who are initiating this, transformation in engineering education. I've attended this Pune conference. It was very good. Brought exposure to the latest technology, use of latest technology by teachers first, then of course the students. Very useful software and technology was demonstrated in that conference. Now, student-related issues, not really interested in learning the subject seriously, but very seriously interested in getting the jobs. This is the focus, their focus. Motivated until something really exciting and related to practical life problems is included in the content and taught in a befitting way. That is underlined. It's marked in red. Taught in a befitting way. Again, teacher is the crucial person. Management related, there are gaps. Creating the state-of-art infrastructure, all right, but identifying the training needs of the faculty and sending them to training programs. I'm hearing complaints from many of my colleagues and from other colleges also, engineering fraternity, teachers of engineering, that the managements are not sending them. And if you want to go and attend, you have to forego the summer vacation, something like that they are saying, it seems. This should be checked. The faculty must be sent. They must identify the training needs on a priority basis, of course. They must send. There were days wherein, we used to keep some reserve for 5 to 10% reserve for leave vacancy, and we used to send them. But these days people are keeping 5 to 10% less staff, surprisingly. It's very surprising to note. All these gaps implicitly reflect the need for giving the right exposure and training to the teachers. And now key factors. What are the key factors? For transformation to take place, who are the key factors? Are they students, parents, industry, managements of institutions? All the stakeholders you may name, but teachers are the key factors to bring in the transformation, because they are going to play the role here. And are our teachers ready with the required inputs? I believe, I am afraid, no. Therefore, teacher education is the immediate need. And therefore, here is a proposal for a new system of evaluation. Practical exposure must be made mandatory for those opting engineering education as a career. Teacher training must be enforced, and skills and potential of teachers to transform their students into entrepreneurs must be evaluated, rather than insisting on their PhDs, publications, and so-called impact factors, which no way, in a majority of cases, have any impact on the society in the real sense. Consultancy must be encouraged, and all the faculty must be made to participate. And here and there, community service also must be encouraged. The ability of a teacher to identify practical problems in the society and convert them into simple student research projects must be encouraged. I repeat this. The ability of a teacher to identify practical problems in the society and convert them into simple student research projects. Simple student research project doesn't require, crores of funds and all. This must be encouraged. The contribution of teacher, taught, and management of the institution to the rural India must be insisted and ensured. Doctors until recently were being sent to rural areas. Why not with engineers? At least a semester. This is possible only by exposing the faculty to the problems of rural areas and training them to get sustainable solutions for rural India. Sustainable solutions for rural India. This is a catchword again. So my friends, I'm going to conclude here saying that keeping in view the Indian scenario of engineering education, teacher education through appropriate training programs must be immediately taken up and enforced at a large scale for bringing in positive transformation in engineering education. And among the four entities, the teacher, the student, the management or institution, and the society, four entities, consider the effort of every individual entity for the sake of remaining three and its impact on the remaining three during evaluation. This is not being evaluated, my friends. Whether it is NBA or NAC committee, this is not being evaluated. Therefore, this must be considered. The first point is focus on teachers. Teacher education is the immediate need. Second point is an integrated approach. Which entity is impacting the other entity? And all these four, how they are impacting the society must be checked. And only then, I think, transformation can be brought in. And these are, another conclusion is there. Although there are several parameters that influence the engineering education system, teachers are the critical factors, and hence the focus must be on them for bringing in a positive transformation in engineering education, particularly in the Indian context. These are the references: National Science Academy and report on Human Development Center, Engineering Education in India. I would be happy if you ask some questions, if I can answer some questions. And thanks for that. Dr. Sridhar?
Thank you, sir. We will give the audience 1 or 2 minutes to type in the questions.
Yeah. And where can I check them? Now, can I minimize the PPT?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How are the positive transformations assessed in institutes?
Presently, you mean? Or how they should be assessed? Anyway, I'll assume something, How are they to be assessed? Should have been the question. Actually, presently, they are not being assessed properly. That's what my intention was. The transformation, whether it has happened or not, if it is measured only in terms of the individual's growth, like whether somebody has attained Ph.D., whether somebody has come out with so many publications, this is individual growth. What is intended to bring positive transformation is whether it is impacting in any way the society. You have set up an engineering institution, a private management has set up an engineering institution. By setting up that, what is your objective? You may write in vision, mission statement so many things, but primary objective is, motive is to earn something for themselves. I'm sorry, that is the truth, bitter truth. So the positive transformation means in the surroundings, in their, let us say, lowest way possible, are they impacting the surrounding society? What are their contributions to the society must be checked in. Similarly, if an individual is there, what is his contribution to the student community, to the engineering institution, and to the society? That should be checked. And as I said in the conclusions, it must be linked up with rural parts of the country, because India is basically a rural country. Nowhere we are concentrating on this issue. So positive transformation can be assessed by measuring the impact the institution as a whole has created on the society. That's my answer. Sridhar.
We are waiting for more questions, sir.
Yeah, please.
Is it necessary to be a postgraduate to become a teacher in engineering?
Yeah. See, it's a funny question, No necessity for anybody to become a teacher. But I used to think in my childhood days, I must become a teacher. I was very passionate. Of course, my teachers have inspired me in the school. So I was very passionate, and therefore I became a teacher. But to become a teacher, it is not necessary to join an engineering institution. You take a mechanic in a workshop. The senior mechanic will be the teacher for the junior mechanic. Isn't it? So in every walk of life, there are teachers. It's only for you to have that teaching mentality. And the dictionary meaning for teaching is, one of the meanings is to give. To teach is to give what best you have to others. And that is the concept, in fact. So if you have that concept of giving attitude, you are a teacher. And once you have that giving attitude, you are contributing for the society. And particularly those who are branded as teachers in the so-called professional organizations, they must learn this. To teach means to give your 100%. But what you are doing, you are taking. You are taking for yourself. All the opportunities you are taking. You are getting the grants. You are getting a degree. You are getting good scales. But what are you giving for the society? So, is it necessary to join teaching? MTech students to join teaching means you have to think. Teaching in any part of life is a very noble act. Even without joining teaching also, if you can do this, practice this giving. There is a saying, one whoever gives is called God. In Sanskrit, Deva, they say. Deva means the Eva, means one who knows only giving. He's God. And if you are practicing teaching means you are giving your 100%, even if you don't know. Learn through some experiments, books, and try to give students your 100%. And because these principles are practiced in educational institutions, teachers and teaching profession has attained more significance. Therefore, if you have that inclination of giving, this is the noble profession. And without joining also, you can be a teacher, my friend. So it is not necessary, but it is rather, it's a desirable thing. Thank you.
For us to impact them, we have to change all the system from MHRD, entire curriculum and syllabus structure. So what can we do?
Yeah. Again, as Gandhiji said, be the change what you want to see. Without curriculum changes and all that, a good teacher can enforce things on his or her students. That is why I have identified teachers are the key factors. Irrespective of whether these policies are being immediately brought into force or not, teachers can exercise their options. If you have identified this truth, you are the king or queen of your classroom. You may complete syllabus according to the curriculum, but the teaching methodologies, teaching ways, nobody can change. Nobody can dominate you. Therefore, it requires time for bringing in all these policies and all that. Although we are, staging a lot of hue and cry to bring in this change, probably the policy makers may not listen to us. But if you have identified this as the truth, then implement it in your own way. You can always do that. And you are the critical factor. You are the key factor. Without any policies or regulations being made by the authorities, you still can do this. Thank you. Anything, Dr. Sridhar?
Yes, sir, that was the last question. Thank you very much for the webinar. In case I get any feedback by mail, I'll forward to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sridhar, and all other participants. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.